Let's get started. Hi, my name is Matthew C. Anderson, and I'm a solutions architect with Hitachi Solutions. And I'd like to welcome you to the Hitachi Solutions CRM webinar series. Today's topic is business development for architecture, engineering, and construction firms. Throughout this session, we'll start out with an introduction and background, starting with the beginning of making the decision to invest in CRM in an AEC firm. Next, we'll focus in on business development. Specifically, we'll cover how we can drive more revenue by using Microsoft Dynamics CRM as well as Hitachi's AEC for CRM Solution. Finally, we'll move into a demonstration where we highlight some of those areas we focused on. Starting off with our background, we're going to back way up, and we're going to ask the question of, why are we investing in a CRM platform, and not just Dynamics CRM, but any CRM system? How are we going to be able to justify this, not only from a dollars and cents standpoint, but to the users to make sure that we drive adoption so they'll actually want to use it? And we do have to answer multiple questions in justifying this investment. For users, and this could be a user at a senior leadership level, or somebody at any level within the organization, if they're using CRM, they need to see and feel that they're getting more value out of the system than the effort that's being invested in. That makes it worth their time, that makes it worth their effort, and to them, there's more to it than just having something show up on a management report. There's real value that's being driven for them personally to use this system. The other justification is at the business level, and making sure that we drive at a tangible return on investment, something that we can use to be able to reinforce that value for the users, as well as make sure that there is real value to the business having this system in place. Now, as we get a little bit more specific, thinking about it, AEC is inherently a very broad industry. It's made up by many different types of organizations. And while there are certainly similarities in how they operate, there are going to be differences as well. If you're an architecture firm versus a prime contractor, you are going to use CRM differently. Or say you're an engineering firm, you'll use CRM differently than someone who manufactures goods, those construction materials that are used as part of a project. Dynamics CRM is a solid platform that we extend into a complete end-to-end solution, regardless of which one of those segments you fall into. There are some things that you just do similarly in the way you interact with organizations, manage your relationships, look at projects and project history. But this framework that's built out needs to be flexible and adaptable to your specific business, as well as your internal processes. And to that end, you need to make sure that the solution you have in place can grow and adapt as your best practices change. And this is specifically what we offer. Now, within the context of this webinar, we're going to be focusing on business development in particular. And the reason for this is that if we can use Dynamics CRM to be able to identify more leads and better leads, and do a consistent job of qualifying deals both into and out of the pipeline, we can very specifically see the revenue tied to those deals, as well as measure our improving close rates. As we go through the demonstration, we'll see how we manage various relationships, qualify and progress opportunities through that business development cycle, and identify potential cross-sales. As we do this, we'll leverage third-party project data information from Dodge, iSquarefoot, and the like. We'll also see how this ties into the collaboration across teams, as well as how reports and visualizations are used throughout the solution. I'll move over and start out on a mobile device. In this case, it's an iPad, but it could be Android or Windows Mobile as well. From here, as I'm going through my day, I can check in on my open opportunities, I see order history, upcoming activities that I have, and those sorts of things. But the first thing that I see is a collection of pinned tiles. And these are records that I want to have quick access to. In this case, they're all about the Minnesota Department of Transportation, one of my key pursuits that I want to be able to get to quickly right when I log into the system. Some of these I'll keep pinned for a long time, like my key accounts, but in the case of the discount approval process, I won't need to keep that there after it's run its course. As I continue my day, I use CRM to prepare for meetings as well as capture information coming out of those meetings. I'll open up the meeting I have later today with the Department of Transportation Planning, and I review the objectives and upcoming initiatives they have, as well as the status of any active projects we have with them. Now, coming out of this meeting, I can use the same interface to capture meeting notes as well as follow-ups very quickly and easily. One of the nice things here is that I use native voice-to-text to capture this information right when I'm coming out of my meeting. In this case, I use Siri, who's going to help translate everything I say into a text note. Now, this is certainly helpful, but I use Hitachi's AEC solution to go even further. And the way I do this is by leveraging the workflow automation that's been set up in the background. And what I mean by this is that CRM takes the information I enter into my call report, and it automatically creates records on the back end, giving me the appropriate follow-ups and helping me delegate those items to other individuals for future follow-up as well. As an example of this, I'll capture an issue that I identified while going through the course of the meeting. I give it a description, choose the appropriate subject, and capture notes for follow-up. Once I mark this complete, CRM picks up the work and starts following up with the appropriate team members so they know what's going on and we all have the same information to work off of. Now, I'll change gears and open up my laptop working with Dynamics CRM directly through Outlook. I know which records are tracked in CRM because there's an icon with two little people next to it that lets me know that this is a CRM record as well. This may include notes from clients, meetings, tasks, or other things that we've collaborated on internally. These are directly tracked into CRM using a single click. Here, I have a notification of a project delay. And if I open that up, using the Set Regarding menu, I choose the project, and CRM connects the history of this email thread with that client in CRM. Additionally, all contacts who are in the thread, whether internal or external, are associated as part of this overall interaction. This same native capability to synchronize information about emails is also present in appointments, contacts, and tasks as well. An important part of this, though, is that it's not just synchronizing records between CRM and Outlook. In fact, Outlook is a direct gateway to be able to interact with these records in CRM. In the left-hand navigation, we have easy access to the business development activity, key account management, as well as project information. Now, just because we have all this functionality available in Outlook doesn't mean we have to use Outlook. So I'll flip over to a web browser at this point. Here, I'm looking at some pipeline management information, looking across the overall business development funnel across the different regions that we operate in. Especially for AEC firms, it's important to be able to slice and dice this information, not just across the region or folks on the individual business development team, but also looking at industries, types of projects, types of work that we do. And it's key to understand that behind each of these funnels is live data. While other folks are in the system, working with these records, updating values and dates, all that information is going to be live updated in these visualizations, in these dashboards that we have. And they're going to be relevant to me. If I'm logged in at a leadership level, I see things across all of the different divisions. But if I'm part of a particular division or a particular region, I only see the deals associated with what's relevant for me. Our solution includes pre-configured charts and dashboards, which can then be further personalized based on your own needs. So from here, let's take a look at our relationship with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. I'll get there quickly using the Flyout Navigation, and I see it's under my recently viewed records. Here I see a 360-degree view of information about our relationship with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. This pulls information not only that's stored inside of CRM, but also from other connected systems as well, such as project management system, our ERP system for current cost information when quoting, and document management for building proposals. Here, I see our recent and scheduled activities, and when I click over to those activities, I see a recent case creation, which was driven by the site visit that we had just a few minutes ago. When I expand this email out, I see the issue detail. It's been pulled out of the call report fields, added into an email, and sent out to the rest of the account team. This now serves as a central point to be able to get that history. Again, we're talking about a 360-degree view of the customer. And over time, especially in very long business development pursuit, and as folks either join or leave the team, all of that history is captured in one place rather than having to let it sit inside of people's email folders. From this same place, I can start to look at relationship strength, starting by looking not only at the relationships that I personally have, but looking at all the different relationships that we have throughout the firm, throughout the entire organization. We take this information and connect into Exchange and potentially even social media to be able to look at different ways that we interact with these people to assign a score automatically for the relationships that we have. Then we set goals and track our progress to those goals over time to make sure that we're building the right types of relationships, those nice, strong relationships that we want to have. The overall relationship account structure can be viewed using a visual hierarchy, which is very helpful in larger organizations with many different departments that we're working with in concert with each other. Trying to see this information in a list view of information isn't intuitive for everyone, so having a nice visual tree is a great way to be able to look at this information. As I move up and down the hierarchy, the visualization updates based on where I'm at. And I can also scroll back and forth if there are lots of child records. So, part of an Account 360 includes understanding projects, and specifically, and pertinent to the topic of this webinar, how can we drive more business by understanding those projects? And this is a great place for us to investigate a little bit more of the third-party integration tool set that we have as part of this solution. Here, we're going back to the Minnesota Department of Transportation organization, that parent company, and we're taking a look at the associated projects. We're looking at projects not from our project management system, but projects being pulled in from Dodge data. Now, this includes a wealth of information about this project that doesn't have to be entered by users. Rather, this is copied from Dodge data to CRM automatically. It starts with the basic stub information around that project name, key dates, details, and other basic project info. All of this comes from a third-party data source. In this example, it's McGraw-Hill, but we also work with iSquareFoot, and it can also be configured to work with others. As we start looking at the related information, this is where we can start to supercharge our business development efforts. Now, if you're using Dodge data today, you're able to get to details around jobs, around project bidders, around the key firms that are involved with that project. However, some of this information can be inaccurate or it can be out of date, and using that tool, it's really difficult to organize your efforts internally around which ones you're pursuing and how you're going about that pursuit. What's your approach to it? Who's part of the team who's going to be looking at those deals? Now, we pull this basic information from Dodge into CRM, where now folks on the business development team can collaborate on this information. And we can use the workflow engine that we saw earlier to be able to make sure that we're hitting any key dates that are coming up. And specifically, as we start looking at the front end of the business development process, we can start to qualify out business that's not going to be worth the time and effort of going after that pursuit. Saving time and effort that typically gets wasted in chasing after a job that may not be a good fit. But because people today are stuck using multiple tools, time and other resources are being wasted. Hitachi's AEC solution helps alleviate this problem. Each job is a lead that's either qualified into the business development cycle or disqualified out and won't show up on anybody's lead screens. So from here, let's move into an individual opportunity, and we'll take a look at this one that we have with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. You'll notice as we go through the record that we've carried forward information from the project, from the job, and things that we've collaborated on from around the business development team. On the right-hand side, we see related information, including the stakeholders within the project, broken down by role. We also see the sales team of who's on this particular business development team or who's part of the proposal team that's helping develop all of that. And including them here, adding them here, gives them access to be able to see all the information contained within this particular opportunity. Each of the stakeholders is tagged with a specific role that they carry within the context of this individual pursuit. This way we see who they are in regard to this effort rather than just seeing a generic title that they have within the organization. Now at the top, we've added in another element here, which is the business process engine. And we're seeing it go across with these chevrons. And this is very important in being able to coordinate business development efforts using Dynamics CRM as well as Hitachi's AEC solution for CRM. This process engine guides the entire pursuit team in making sure they're coordinated in their efforts for moving this forward. Starting from the first go, no-go decision, on through multiple stages, collaborating on building out a proposal, and going through any required approvals. All of this is managed through the business process flow. Now mind you, this is not one size fits all. In fact, this is adapted for your organization's best practices and can also accommodate for differences across different business units, meaning that if there's something that's done differently in one group versus another, the appropriate nomenclature, steps, stages, or branching of those stages can be applied. This means that we can ensure that organizational best practices will be met while still accommodating for those things that make it feel like a great user experience for the people who are using the system every day. So let's take a look at the business process in action. For this opportunity with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, I'd like to initiate a pricing request. First, I'll indicate that a pricing request is needed, and doing so adds in an additional stage to the process flow to accommodate the additional steps required for that pricing approval. Next, I'll set the discount I'm requesting as well as the reasons behind it. Then I'll indicate that it's ready for internal review. Yes, my example is a simple set of criteria, but again, this flow will be adapted to your specific business process. Now, as we click through to the activities associated with this opportunity, we now see that there's an email highlighting the discount request that's been put together. By expanding this out, we see that this has been sent out to the approval team along with the pertinent information about this particular request, as well as a link for them to click through and see the detail in CRM. These approvals are then logged back against the opportunity record inside of CRM, and once all approvals have been met, the deal can move on to the next stage in the business development process. We've covered a lot of ground through this webinar. We've seen how we manage various relationships, qualify and progress opportunities through that business development cycle, and identify potential cross-sales. And throughout, we're able to collaborate across the different lines of business as well as report on that in real time, leveraging data from both inside of CRM as well as outside of CRM, including third-party data sources. I appreciate your time in listening to this webinar. If you'd like more information, you're welcome to contact us at Hitachi Solutions, where we'd be happy to discuss things with you further.